Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. My two passions in life are trains, obviously, but also food. And earlier this year, Chloe and I found a way to bring those two passions together when we went on a dining train on the Great Central Railway. And this was a fantastic experience because obviously there was a lot of trains involved, which was fun, but also I got to try some new and different foods too. So today we've decided we're going to try and do a bit more of the same, but from right here in the railway room. So I am great at consuming food, I've gotten that down to a T, but what I'm not very good at is creating it myself. And so for that, I am going to have to scoot across and get some help from Chloe, who's got a book. Show them the book.
Food on the Move. This is a book that takes you to many different parts of the world, and it talks about food that they use on different dining trains at different periods of time in different places.
So basically the idea of this video is that I've told Chloe to pick 6 or so recipes from this book without telling me what they are, go shopping, get all the ingredients and then prepare them for me to try for the first time on video. Now, have you done this?
I've done this.
And I'm nervous about this because I'm quite a fussy eater and so not knowing what's coming is a little bit scary for me. But I guess we've got to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let's try some train food from Food on the Move. Ah, the first dish. Ooh, okay. Well, that's something I've seen before, salad and a dressing.
So this first recipe that you're tasting is just a salad, but the main thing is the dressing. So it's called coronation dressing and it originated in 1937 in Canada.
Oh, so that would make it from the Canadian Pacific Railway in Canada?
Yes. So it was brought about as a tribute to King George VI because in 1937 was actually his coronation.
Right.
So this was a whole, this is how we're going to celebrate the coronation.
So it's quite fitting really because we've just had a coronation this year and this is the kind of food from coronations long ago. So let's try it. Ooh. It's a very, very interesting dressing. It's quite nice.
Is it?
Mm. So the coronation dressing, it was quite nice, but very tasty, very tangy, and I felt like there was a lot of different flavours going on in there. So what's in it?
So we have white wine vinegar, lemon juice, honey, red currant jelly, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, salt, paprika, and a dash of hot sauce.
I think it's nice. It's got a real tang to it. Did you say there was hot sauce in this?
Yes, a dash.
It is only a dash, but yeah, you can taste it.
So it's not overwhelmingly vinegary?
No.
Because the smell is very vinegary.
I mean, it's quite vinegary, but there's a lot of different flavours going on. It's nice. I would eat that. Yeah. And there are some pictures in this book of the actual dining cars.
Yes. Yeah, one thing that stood out to me is actually how tall it is. Like the ceilings are really tall and quite grand lighting down the edges as well.
It is grand, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, like if you look at the floor area and the tables, they look quite basic, but then when you look up, the woodwork and everything is quite exquisite really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful carriage. I'd love to have seen it. Coronation dressing. I enjoyed that. Thumbs up. They've gone for something a bit special, haven't they? I mean, the dining cars are obviously very special.
Well, especially because it's supposed to be fit for a king.
Yeah. Fit for a king, very much so. Well, it was nice. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Should we move on?
We shall move on.
Ah, dish 2.
Breakfast.
A breakfast. Wow.
So this next dish comes from America and it's called the Santa Fe French Toast.
Ooh.
Yes, and actually it became well known because so many people were asking for it. It became one of the railroad's most famous meals to have. That
just looks like an American breakfast. Okay, well, let's try it. I've never had French toast before. That's not quite what I expected. I always thought that French toast was more of a desserty thing, but you can. This is totally a breakfast thing.
I think it fits in the pancake waffle.
Yeah. Quite simple, I suppose. You got to think a lot of this stuff is being cooked on trains, so it's not like there's lots and lots of cooking involved. Was it easy to cook?
you have to basically cook it in oil. And I thought this might take a while. 30 seconds, not even that, the whole thing was done.
Right.
But what really sets this apart from the rest and what you might see from French toast today is it goes in the oven.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because you think these American railroads, there's going to be a lot of passengers on there. So if they can fry this stuff in the 30 seconds, bung it in the oven, keep it warm, and then hand it out to passengers for breakfast, it's a breakfast thing.
Yes, a breakfast item. I think they wanted something quick, easy. Kind of makes you think of fast food today, doesn't it?
And it's obviously convenient to cook this stuff on a train.
Yeah.
I always thought this would be more like prawn toast, which is hard and quite crunchy. This has got a crispy outer shell. I'm guessing it's fried then, but the inside is soft. That's really, really nice. Well, I ate this French toast sitting in the loft, but it was so easy to imagine just cruising through the American countryside, I guess. Just eating French toast. It just felt so classic American. You could totally see why they would have put that recipe in the book. It was good. I like that. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't seem very healthy.
No, I did fry it in an obscene amount of oil.
Right, moving on then. What have we got next?
So our final starter of the day is an asparagus in a vinaigrette dressing. And this originates from South Africa.
Ooh. I've seen these before, but I don't know what they're called.
Asparagus.
Alright, I've never had asparagus before. What's the dressing?
Just a regular vinaigrette.
A vinaigrette. Again, that's new to me.
So apparently, back in 1977, it was quite a staple on these dining trains.
Okay.
I assume because it's quick, simple, easy to serve, much like the French toast we just saw.
Yeah.
And I actually got this recipe, if you look just here, from a menu.
Oh, so this is an original menu from 1977.
Yes, from the Blue Train dinner menu,
Okay.
specifically.
And I think we've got a picture of the Blue Train on another page here, haven't we? Apparently this is a modern photo of the Blue Train, but this is very much as it would have looked in the 1970s, although I think the interior has been changed now. From South Africa then? I can honestly say I've never eaten anything from South Africa before. Let's get plenty of the dressing on there. Alright, bottoms up. The taste is fantastic. I really like that. The asparagus is a little bit slimy, but I guess asparagus is asparagus. It doesn't look anywhere near as posh as the Canadian one.
No, which is interesting, isn't it? It does say that there was a lot of brown and gold.
Maybe this doesn't look quite as posh because it is 1970s, and I think 1970s decor by today's standards does look quite dated with all the browns and such, doesn't it? So it still looks pleasant enough, doesn't it? And looking at the menu, it's reasonably posh. I could see another course here is a roast leg of lamb with mint jelly, and there's also a stuffed chicken on there as well. One more bite. I'll give you your money's worth.
Interesting what you said about the texture though, because there was two different ways to make this. You could grill it or you could boil it.
Right.
And I went for boiled.
Right.
And I know you didn't necessarily like it. You called it slimy.
Well, it was a little bit slimy, but maybe that's what it's supposed to be like. I've never had asparagus before, so
No,
maybe.
it's just being mean about my cooking.
No, it's all right. It's all good. So you could see yourself in a cramped kitchen being able to rustle that up quite easily. So
yeah, it's
big boiling pot, load of asparagus in it. You've probably got the dressing made up already. Just a case of plating it up, pouring on the dressing. The dressing is almost quite sweet.
Okay.
I assume it's the dressing that the sweetness is coming from. Is there any sugar in it?
But there is honey in it.
Oh, there you go. So there's some sugar in it. It is quite sweet. Yeah, that's all right. I would say that's a lukewarm tentative thumbs up. That was all right.
So the first of our main courses are actually from a very famous train.
Right.
The Orient Express.
Right. Very,
which is a European train, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Oh.
And it is a chicken and potato casserole.
Ooh, okay, interesting. So I can see chicken, I can see potatoes. Looks like it's in a kind of broth or something.
Very, very basic dish. So you've got some chicken, some potatoes.
Yep.
Almost like a gravy type sauce.
Uh-huh.
And some chopped up carrots, maybe a few onions. Very basic, very hearty, warm meal.
So this is the closest I'm probably ever going to get to the Orient Express. You ready? I'm gonna try it. I like chicken, I like potatoes, so I'm not expecting any surprises here. But let's see what it's all like together. Little piece of chicken. And it says here that this was served on the Simplon Orient Express, which ran from London through Europe to Istanbul. And you can see here what sort of grandeur we're dealing with here. Look at all the beautiful china work, the brass lamps, beautifully set tables. What an elegant carriage as well.
What I notice the most from this picture is that they're all separate seating.
Well, it's like a restaurant in a brick building, isn't it? They're not train seats. It's all separate furniture. You've got separate seats, like you say, separate tables.
And I really think that gives it that much more of a grand feeling.
You can just imagine riding on a train through France or Europe in the 1920s, just dining on this. And it says in the book that this is the sort of French equivalent to your British shepherd's pie. Was that right?
Yes, yeah, so the French equivalent to an English shepherd's pie.
And it did remind me of that. It was a bit like eating a British pie, which I suppose is quite important if you've got a service like the Orient Express, which is travelling across lots of different countries and cultures. So this would have been familiar to both the French and the British. I would eat that as a meal. I might do, in fact. Was it very easy to make?
Yeah, pretty simple.
There you go. I'm gonna have an Orient Express meal every week or so, I think, just to keep me in the manner to which I'm accustomed. Right, one more bite and then take this away, because otherwise I'm gonna fill myself up with this. They were talking about how they had blocks of ice to keep the food cool in refrigerated areas. It just makes you realise how different things were back then. They didn't have an electric refrigerator that would keep things cool. So a simple food like chicken that we would take for granted today and could buy and preserve very cheaply, that's probably going to be more of a big deal back in the 20s.
Come on then.
Thank you.
So our last main meal is, and sorry if I butcher the pronunciation, solyanka, spicy meat soup, which doesn't sound appetising really.
I would say that sounds very unusual. I've never had anything like that before, but I'll give it a try.
Euro-Asia is the kind of area, so borderline of Europe and Asia. Eastern Siberia, we think Russian, I can't say for certain, I don't want to say it's definitely from these places, but we're thinking Russian, Eastern Siberia.
Right.
So very heavy on the meats,
Yeah.
bacon, sausage, ham.
Gherkins. I never really had a gherkin. Do you want me to try one of those?
Yes, I do.
So Siberia, Russia,
No,
it looks very meaty, so it is kind of what you'd expect. It did seem like this was one of the more complicated dishes we had today. There's a lot of ingredients, a lot of meats. It seems like a very, very complex dish compared with some of the others. There's a lot of ingredients, quite a lot to do.
Yeah, there was a lot of steps. It's all about just combining it in one pot though. So apart from cooking the sausage separately, it is a one pot meal.
So what you're saying is, it seemed to me, the customer, person eating it, like it was a very complex dish. I was really getting my money's worth. This is an extravagant meal. But actually, you could prepare it reasonably simply, which is like gold, isn't it, really? It's easy to prepare, yet comes across as quite an impressive dish. Well, let's try it. I'm surprised at how sort of solid it is. My kind of thing, I do like my meats. What's this topping on it?
Sour cream.
Sour cream. All right, well, that'll do for a first bite. That's very tasty. Wow, there's a lot going on in there. I could taste bacon. I have to say I enjoyed it. I'm not a subtle person. I did enjoy all of the flavours. I
That
enjoyed
surprised
the meats.
me because you have a very, very simple taste. So when I saw everything I was putting in, and I did put a lot of pepper in, and I was thinking as I was doing it, I don't know if he'll like this. He's not a man of flavour, let's say.
It was very, very flavourful, very much so. It's a lot to take in. It's exactly what you'd expect from that sort of country. It's very heavy, lots of flavours, very meaty, quite heavy, dense. Nice though, it's my sort of thing, but if you like your subtle flavours, it ain't going to be for you, because that is like a smack to the face. You would eat this meal and you would not have to eat very much of it to become very full indeed. It's a dish with a lot of nourishment in it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting what you said about you don't have to eat much to be full. And I think that's a theme that we've seen so far in the previous dishes.
It is, it really is.
And it works very well of, well, we can make large quantities of this food, feed a lot of people, and keep them full.
Yes. Right, I'm excited. I've been smelling cakes and sweet things, and I've got a dessert fork. And we're on to the last couple of courses, I'm told. Yep.
Here is your first dessert course.
Oh my gosh.
So, the first of our desserts is called plum pudding. And contrary to what you may think, it involves no plums at all.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. Everybody's heard of plum pudding. Wasn't there a nursery rhyme about putting their thumb into a plum pudding and pulling out a plum?
I'm not sure.
You put your thumb in this pudding, you won't get no plums, you'll get a raisin. Oh, bit of cream. I don't normally have cream on desserts, but if that's what the recipe calls for. So what sort of era and country was this pudding from?
So it's Australian originally.
Right.
And it's from the World War II era. So the Women's Association actually used to make these for the Australian and American personnel, like the troops.
All right, Australian dessert. Let's try it. Oh, it's hard. Struggling to get a good mouthful, but I think that'll do. All right, wish me luck.
Quick, simple, and like you say, you think World War II rations, there might not have been a lot.
Yeah.
So it's very, very basic ingredients, easy to steam, and it actually needed 6 hours of steaming time. Yes. So it's something that they could just leave.
So how did you get on with the steaming aspect of it?
I didn't.
What? Did you buy it?
Hold my hands up, I made it, I didn't steam it.
Right, okay.
It got to yesterday night.
Right.
A bit later than I should have done it.
Okay.
And I realised it needed 6 hours of steaming time.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I look at my watch, it's 5 o'clock. Kept the same ingredients, tweaked it slightly and just made it into more of a cake-based thing.
You see, that's dead stodgy. But I like a stodgy cake, so for me that's good. It's quite plain. It's almost like a scone, really. This seems very, very... You could have no trouble imagining this as a World War II dish. This is exactly what you'd imagine. Very simple, probably quite easy to make. Was it reasonably quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a really interesting one for me because as someone who lives in the privileged modern times without rationing, without shortages, it seemed to me like quite a bland, plain, flavourless cake in a way. But to someone in World War II, a soldier in World War II, I assume this must have been something a bit more extravagant because fruit must have been in short supply back then. There was sugar in it, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, so we all know of the sugar shortages in the Second World War. Having said that, I did quite enjoy it. I think with a bit of cream, maybe a bit of jam on it as well, or butter on it, that would have been lovely. If it was steamed rather than baked in the oven like you did, I don't know how that would have changed it. I assume the taste would have been about the same, but it would have been probably a bit more spongy. It wouldn't have had such a hard crust on it. But there's a hard crust on your cake, Chloe. You can't deny it. It was broke my teeth getting into that.
Crust.
It did have a hard crust, which I don't think it would have if it had been steamed. So it might be when we've got 6 hours to spare, we might have to make another one. I got a piece of crust there, and that was hard. But it wouldn't be. If it was steamed, it wouldn't be.
With what they were going through back then, I'm sure they were just grateful for a meal.
Yeah, that was all right. I liked it.
Our final dessert and final food item of today is the very well received honey sponge pudding. And it came from the Flying Scotsman, which is a taste of home for you.
Yeah. So what sort of era did this particular dessert come from?
I'm thinking about the 1930s. There is a picture in this book, as I think you can see just here, look, that says the LNER restaurant car 1930.
Oh.
So we're looking at the same kind of era.
Ooh. That does look good.
So it is a steamed pudding again, and I actually steamed it this time. This
Yes.
was only about an hour and a half, an hour to 45 of steaming, so it was manageable.
Yeah. Well, let's try it. I've had lots of syrup sponge before, sticky toffee, but I don't think I've had honey. That's old-fashioned though, isn't it? Ooh, it's sticky. Oh, it smells incredible. Yeah, you get a real honey flavour on it. That is excellent. There is a lot of honey in this.
So you'll find that these steamed puddings were really good for dining trains because they were pre-prepared.
Right, so, and then they'd just be reheated when they were ready to serve?
Yeah, so I assume they were just kept aside somewhere, and then when it came to dessert, they were reheated. Obviously, the one I made, I did last night, so you had the reheated version.
And it was reheated, and it tasted fresh.
Yeah.
Chloe?
Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm probably just going to consume this whole thing, if that's okay. It's your classic English steamed pudding. I mean, it's what we have all the time, basically. Not with honey. The honey taste is different, but yeah, the texture is very much right. So actually, I'm thinking about that plum pudding with this kind of texture. I think that would be quite nice.
Usually it's a sticky toffee pudding these days.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
or a syrup sponge, jam
Yes.
sponge. Honey is maybe a little more old-fashioned. Certainly less
Yeah.
common these days, because honey, I suppose, would have been a bit easier to come by in the 1930s.
I think the lemon gave it quite a lemon drizzle cake.
I was going to say that there is a hint. There's not much, just a hint of lemon.
Yes, I used grated lemon zest.
I know you say you're not a cook, but that is, if I had that in a restaurant, I would come home and say that was a very impressive dessert.
Thank you.
That's a really nice dessert.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. There was plenty more where that came from.
Yep. Let's eat it.
Oh, no, not really. This is for later.
It's for me for later. Well, Chloe, that was fantastic. That must have been hard work.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work. It wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
Coming into today, I thought, gosh, like, I'm going to be running around like a headless chicken. But actually, I think it worked quite like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, you seemed very calm. You seemed very on top of it all. You've cooked 7 different dishes in the space of a few hours. That's not too bad. And what a variety as well. We've had something from Canada, America, Russia, Europe, that kind of place. France, sort of. Again, Europe from the Orient Express. We had,
South Africa?
South Africa. Did I say Australia?
Nope, I don't think so.
And then, of course, over here in the UK with the Flying Scotsman. So a massive variety of different dishes.
I did envision gagging, retching.
I know, there's no gagging.
And I'm
was
very
there?
disappointed that it didn't happen. But I think it shows that you can try more than you think.
True.
Let's start with favourites. Or favourite. No, we're just going to have one. I'm not going to make it easy for you.
Well, the obvious answer would be a toss-up between the honey sponge, which was great, and the French toast. But they seem like the easy road for me. I'm going to pick the one that was the most unexpectedly nice dish. And that was the meat soup. The spicy meat soup. That was gorgeous. I really enjoyed that. All of those flavours. It was just an assault on the senses, and I loved every bit of it. That was great.
That is very surprising. I really thought he was going to go for the honey sponge pudding.
Yeah, but I knew I was going to like that. And again, the French toast, looking at it, I knew that would be nice. This one was a bit of something new, and I really did enjoy it.
So you've told me your favourite then.
Yeah.
What about your least favourite?
Well, again, they were all nice. I wouldn't say any of them were particularly unpleasant, but I think
Don't insult my cooking.
the one that I would not choose to have again, as nice as it was,
Even though it was cooked amazingly.
even though it was cooked incredibly well, was, I think, the asparagus.
I knew you was going to say that.
Because it was just a vegetable with a sauce on it. The sauce was nice, and the asparagus wasn't nasty or anything, but for me, you know, I like to eat for nourishment. I like to feel satisfied and sustained afterwards. I can't see that sort of dish sating my hunger in any way.
Yeah, I think you might have preferred it if it was grilled, more crunchy. I think
Yeah.
the boiled put you off a bit. It was
Yeah.
a bit more slimy, a bit more, like, not sloppy is not the word, but soft.
Yeah. I think if that was brought out to me and I was out for a posh meal, I'd be a bit disappointed.
Sound like a caveman.
I am, yeah.
Man eats food.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm very unrefined. But it was okay, but I think I prefer everything else, particularly that hot meaty soup. Right, well, thank you so much, Chloe, for that. I know that was a lot of hard work, but it paid off. You're a better cook than you made it sound like you were, and I can confirm that now. And you go and have a nice, well-deserved rest now.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed learning a lot about various food trains from around the world. I think this was well worth doing. What a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed coming along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Cheers, everybody.